I have literally never told anyone how close I was to needing to buy another dress. Quiet that little artist's heart and hear me out. I love wedding influencers, but that's because I am judgmental. Hello, my name is Christy and I got married in June of 2023. And I made a lot of stuff for my wedding because I just have a maker's heart. I just had to do it. So I spent a lot of time thinking about what to make, researching what to make, looking into what things would be worth my time, what would not be worth my time, and more importantly, like within my skill level that I could really excel at. And so my duty today is to share this knowledge because I put a lot of time and effort into this pile of things that I'm going to show you. And I also have some recommendations for some other things to make if you are a slightly different creative than I am, and some pros and cons to each one. I want to preface this by saying that I got everything that I wanted from my wedding. It was exactly what I wanted, and my parents paid for it. Just to be clear, weddings are extremely expensive. And it's not even just the wedding that you're paying for. And my parents paid for mine, and I was still spending money like it was going out of style. But I just wanted to acknowledge that having a wedding is a luxury, not just a privilege. Having a wedding is a luxury. And, getting married isn't. Getting married is different than having a wedding. You know what I mean? So if you want to have a big, giant wedding, and it's a luxury, and you don't need to do any of this in order to have a fulfilling and loving marriage, okay? So my wedding was, about 2 years ago now, and I'm ready to divulge all of my secrets. But first, I want to make sure that you clicked on this video for the right reason, because I feel like there's a tendency for brides to want to DIY things for their wedding in order to cut costs and save money. And we will go over my do not recommend list, but let me just say that if you can't or won't afford something for your wedding and you don't want it to be handmade, just go without it, okay? Does that make sense? If you're making something for your wedding, it needs to be because you want it to be handmade and you want it to have your special and creative and personal touch to it, not just because you can't afford it and need to find a way to have it there, all right? We are not going to do like, oh, the centerpieces, we can't afford them from the florist, so what should we do? DIY them ourselves? Unless you just happen to have a passion for wedding centerpieces and you've always dreamed about this specific part of your wedding since the second grade, just go without, okay? It's going to look really sleek. There's going to be less cleanup, and you can just do a couple of 4x6 printouts of your dog. People will love it, okay? You know what I mean? So make sure that if you're making something for your wedding, if you're putting the time in to handcraft these things, it's because you want it to have your touch, not just because there's not really any other way to get it, because you're busy. You do not have time to be making things that you don't have any skills in, that you don't even really care about, that you could take it or leave it, that you won't even remember 2 years from now. Just let it go and don't have it. So now that we're on the same page, you want to make things because you just have an artist's heart, you just have a maker's mind, a little creative soul, and you just need to have your special touch on certain areas of your big day. I get it. That was exactly my complex and why I went through all of this. And I think that that's the right mindset to go into it with. You want something to be handmade with your own hands so that it's meaningful, so that it's memorabilia, so that it's a family heirloom, not just because there's not any other way to get it, right? So for a typical wedding, you need to pay for a venue, photographer, food, cake, flowers for your bridesmaids, decor, a dress, a suit, a veil, music or DJ, chairs, tables, tablecloths, random decorations like a guest book, and alcohol, napkins, yada yada. And that would be like a fun basic wedding, and the budget for those things really varies depending on, where you're at and what you're doing. There is so much more to buy for a wedding than just those things. So I'm going to walk you through all of the things that you could buy for a wedding that aren't even your wedding, okay? And this is just to get ahead of the influence, because the wedding industry and wedding influencers are absolutely nuts. And I will be completely honest that I love wedding influencers, but that's because I am judgmental. And I love to we'll get to it. So it all starts with the engagement. And I had like an intimate and personal engagement. I was in leggings and a t-shirt. He was in gym shorts and Birkenstocks, and it was very beautiful. But some people have a pretty extensive formal type of engagement. They get their nails done, they get a blowout, and you could easily spend like $300 just getting engaged, like with dinner and drinks and everything that, people do that night. And then once you are engaged, you feel like, oh, I need an engagement photo shoot because I need to have professional photos for the invitations and the save the dates. And so you can make an engagement outfit. That's what I did. And this was one of the first items of clothing that I ever made for myself. This is a pattern that I will link. I think it turned out very pretty and I wear it often, but with these type of bell sleeves, this is such a princess type of shirt. When I'm wearing this, I can't do anything. I can't get anything done because of how impractical these big floppy bell sleeves are. So if you're making a top for every day that you want to rewear quite a lot, I would skip these. But if you want something that's fun and luxurious and just cute, then yeah, I really enjoy this. So then you buy the invitations and you buy envelopes and stamps for all of those. You get them sent out, and now it's time to send out your little bridesmaids gifts and your groomsmen's gifts. And I also made elements of my bridesmaids gifts. So I crocheted my bridesmaids little gift bags, and then inside I put a pair of earrings. So I made those, and then you pay for shipping on all of those. Those go out, and then your girls start planning a bachelorette. And okay, you need a white bathing suit, and you need to buy all these white shoes, and you're gonna wear them anyways. So we'll just go ahead and buy them now because you're only doing this once. So I made a bathing suit cover. This is a wrap skirt using 2 different types of lace that I got from mypico.com. Love that website. And then this is another wrap top from the same designer as the first top. She's one of my favorites. I will also have this linked below. Look how beautiful the back is. So I wore this as a bathing suit cover, able to pick up that the yarn has these gold flecks in it. So pretty. It felt very glamorous, very pretty. So I didn't have a bridal shower, but if you did, another opportunity to make your own outfit, another opportunity to thrift, get some nails, spend some more money. Oh my God. So yeah, already have a bunch of purchases and like 50 hours worth of crocheting, and we are not even close to the wedding yet. So for me, that kind of summarizes all of the opportunities that aren't the wedding but are bridal adjacent that you could use to make your own things, and then also just spend a lot of money. You buy lots of nails, hair products, you get new skincare, do facials, try new things. I can't do any facials because I have really sensitive skin, but you could easily spend like $1,000 just on your hair and nails leading up into the wedding, trying to look your best. I didn't do anything. I didn't even pluck my eyebrows. I don't wax my eyebrows either because I have really sensitive skin. And the last time that I got my eyebrows waxed, they scabbed. And that only needs to happen once before you never need to do that again. You're like, my eyebrows look fine. So yeah, just keep in mind that through this whole engagement thing, it is just going to be money, 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 spend, 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 spend. And you don't have to do all of that. You can look however you want on your wedding day, and you are going to look pretty. You are going to look gorgeous because you're going to have the perfect dress. You're going to have the perfect man or woman at the altar with you, and you are going to have the best day ever because of the love that you have. Okay. So all of this leading up to the wedding, you don't have to do any of it, but if you want to, there's some opportunities there to make your own things. So now it is time for the actual wedding weekend. And for some reason, like getting ready for the wedding is like a whole photo shoot with the photographer. So you've probably bought your little bridal pajamas and your robe. I didn't buy slippers, but you could do that. And then usually there's like bridesmaids gifts for the day of to thank them for just like being there for you. And so I made my bridesmaids tops that they could wear. And I really like this idea over crocheting them or knitting them or sewing them their own bridesmaid dresses, because they have to wear the bridesmaids dresses. And if something goes wrong, you can't easily get a replacement for something handmade, or if they don't like it. And I feel like it's so much of like imposing on them that they have to wear this. Whereas if you spend the time to make them something a little bit more casual, they'll probably get a lot of wear out of it. but they don't have to wear it. If they don't like it, they can say, oh, thank you, and just put it away and never worried about it again. So I think that the stakes are a lot less high if you really want to make your girls something. But they, you don't run the risk of like ruining the look by everyone having a handmade dress, but then one girl's didn't work, or something went wrong with it, or a strap broke, or your craftsmanship didn't work out or something. So to me, it's a lot less stressful. You can even make them dresses, just not their bridesmaid dresses, so that there's some opportunity on the day for some flexibility and they don't have to wear it if they really, really don't want to. So now we are going to get into the things that I recommend for your actual wedding day, and not those like adjacent wedding things that are completely optional. So for your actual wedding day, I have some recommendations and then I have some do not recommends. Okay, so we're going to start with a couple recommendations. The first thing that I think everyone should make for their wedding is their ring pillow. It is just such a good idea. So I went with a romantic, traditional looking ring pillow. I have our initials on the back in a heart and these little textured areas. I hand sewed the insert for the pillow and then just crocheted around the edge, and boom, I have a pillow that sits on our shelf in the living room as a little display piece and little memorabilia. But how cute would like a scrappy like granny square project look, or like one that's like circle, a little more boho for like the boho beachy bride? Or if you wanted to like make t-shirt yarn and then crochet that together, and then it's like maybe your husband's t-shirt and your t-shirt, and it like represents you coming together. I just think that you could get really, really creative with this part of your wedding. This is just a prop. So you can buy the prop, or you can make a prop that is completely impractical, that is crazy. And this will be the center of attention for the entire wedding for just a couple seconds while they're taking the ring off of it. Or maybe, it's just a prop in general. It's just sitting there, but it is something that can really, really add a nice personal touch to the ceremony, so that you don't have to deal with the whole ceremony. It comes down the aisle, you take the rings, or the best man takes the rings, or whatever your tradition is, and then the pillow goes away. You don't have to worry about it again. So if you make the worst pillow on the history of the planet, at least it has your personal touch on it. The only thing it has to do is just sit there. So I think that this is perfect for a creative who's a little more shy, who doesn't want to be the full center of attention, but this will get the spotlight. Ping, take the ring off of it, and then it will just go away and you don't need to worry about it. So you can be shy, like, yeah, I made that. I think that this is such a good idea, and everybody should do this, okay? Crocheters, knitters, sewists, embroiderers, needle pointers, cross stitchers, everybody can do this. I think it's such a good idea. I think it's such a great area to mess up. If you don't even have a ring pillow, no one will even notice. So on the day of, if you're finishing it and it's not coming out how you want, you can just get rid of it. No one will even know. Okay, so that is my number one biggest recommendation, that everyone should make this for their own wedding, no matter their skill level. Dead beginner, just doing a simple granny square, I think would look so, so cute. And then something that is a little more complicated, a little more ornate, classic looking, I think looks great. And you can really put your own style and your own twist on it. How long can I talk about a ring pillow? So this pattern, I made the back on stitch fiddle, and there's actually a mistake here where at some point I dropped a stitch and we are no longer centered, and guess what? Nobody knows. And I kind of love that there's that little bit of a mistake. We're not centered. There's something off about it, but I just think it turned out so precious. And then the front is actually a variation of my favorite granny square, which actually I've hung up right here. It's called the Venetian Star, and it was on a crochet book that I downloaded a PDF of, and I took the center of it, so right there's a Venetian star, and then I continued the star out a little bit and then added some more at the ends and just kind of freestyled it. I made it all the way to the end of the pillow and didn't like it, and like took it back to about right here and tried it again. And yeah, I think that this is just an area where it can look great. It doesn't take that long to do because it's not that big. So this is something where it's not a huge commitment to make. It's not hundreds of hours of work, and the payoff is great. So I also really prioritize making things for your wedding that you can sit like on a shelf and just kind of admire or just have as a memorabilia display piece. And this is the perfect size, the perfect thing for it. I'm so glad that I did it. The only thing I wish I did was like something really like romantic and stupid on the inside, like 2 hearts with our initials on it to stuff the pillow like it's a Build-A-Bear. I just think that's a missed opportunity that I didn't do. But I don't know, I could just tell y'all that I did that and no one would ever know. The next thing, this is for like a super shy creative who really doesn't like having their work on display, but just has their little artist heart yelling at them, make something for your wedding, have a personal touch. This is a great thing. This, couldn't tell you if this has an actual name, but this is a bouquet wrap. So around my bouquet, I handed this off to my florist and she was able to just pin it around the bottom of my bouquet. She's going to wrap it in something, usually like a ribbon. And so you can just have them put something more personal for you on top. And I took 2 different types of lace from the Crochet Everyway Stitch Dictionary and just put them together. This was a really short project. You can see that this is just a normal square, just with the exact same lace that I had left over from making the pillow. So this is something that you will have a chance to sit down and admire on your wedding day. When I was waiting my turn to walk down the aisle for the ceremony, I was able to look down at my bouquet and see my work and just have that personal touch. And that is a moment that is like just seared in my brain. It's like right before you jump off the edge and you're just looking at this thing that you made, your own personal touch, just feeling proud, knowing that this is in your hands, giving you strength as you go in front of God and everybody to declare your love. Like, oh, so this is something that I highly, highly recommend, especially for someone who is a little bit shy. And this could also fit literally any skill level because I did a more traditional romantic looking lace. But if you just did, again, a granny square, just a swatch of double crochet, I just think that that would be such a cute little nice touch. Literally no one will see this but you. I had to like beg the photographer. I was like, don't forget to take a picture of my thing at the bottom of my bouquet. And she was like, what? Oh, and one thing that nobody told me that I wish I knew was that you need to bring a rag if you're using real flowers for your wedding. Have some extra rags because my bouquet, when I first picked it up, dripping, sopping. So you're just holding it like this, just like, does anyone have a paper towel? And there's not time for that. And so if we just had rags ready, that would have been great. And my bridesmaids bouquets also doubled as the table centerpieces, which is a good little cost saving measure. I thought it looked really nice. And then all the bridesmaids had to go to all of the tables. And so they were able to introduce themselves and it kind of brought everyone together. But they really needed rags for their flowers because they were going to get the table settings wet. Oh my God. I mean, it was not a big deal, but at the time you're like, sure, going to get the tablecloths wet. They really need a rag before I take them off. But weddings are stressful, okay? And so now that won't happen to you because you listen to me and you remember to bring some rags. So it is at this time that I'm going to drop in my do not recommend list. Now, just to be clear, I do not recommend making anything for your wedding that you don't want to be handmade, that has your own little personal touch, that you want to have and cherish for years to come, that you want to put the time in, the effort in to enjoy for the rest of you and your spouse's lives together. And I do recommend making anything that you do want to be handmade, okay? That is the general rule for this whole thing. Now, that said, do not make wedding favors. Do not hand make wedding favors, the little party gifts that each guest can take home. You're busy. You're getting married. You do not have time to be making hundreds of little bullshit that people are just going to leave in their car door when they get home, okay? You have better things to do with your time than that. You have so much to do. You could do the projects that I'm telling you about. Do not make your party favors. Do not even have party favors. No one cares. No one cares. If you want to do something nice for your guests, just get an extra appetizer. Now, this next do not recommend might be controversial, but I need you to hear me out, okay? Quiet that little artist's heart and hear me out. Do not make your wedding dress. Do not make your wedding dress. Do not make your wedding dress, okay? Now I'm going to go through all the reasons why you should not make your own wedding dress. And if we get through all of those and you think, I've already thought about all that and I do want to make my own wedding dress, then you are maybe one of the 5 people on the entire planet who should make their own wedding dress. And the rest of us, me, and most likely you, We don't need to be doing that. Unless you have experience making floor-length gowns and you have experience sewing underdresses to go with those custom. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth the stress. It's not worth the meltdowns. It's not worth it. So I did not crochet my own wedding dress. I bought one, and I'm glad that I did. There are two things that a wedding dress must be. It must fit you perfectly and be made out of the right fabric. And those two things go hand in hand, okay? Because I could make a perfectly fitted t-shirt dress, but it's made out of t-shirt, so it's going to stretch out. The seams are going to look loose. It's just going to be an entire mess, okay? So the right fabric and the right fit go hand in hand, because satin like kind of flows and lace like hugs your curves, and tulle like more floaty. Same with chiffon, it like wafts and drapes. And crochet fabric doesn't do any of those things. And neither does knit, but I'm not a knitter, so I can't speak to that specifically, but most of this is going to apply to knitters as well. So crochet has an omnidirectional stretch to it, which means that for something, if you're going for like a fitted shape, crochet is not going to work for that, because it's able to stretch itself out and relax into that shape and become looser. So there's not really any way to get that like body-yaddy type of look with crochet, because it's just going to stretch itself out. The other thing is crochet is extremely dense and it is heavy. And it is not really well suited to those like looser looks or like a princess type of ball gown or a full skirt. Because of how heavy it is, it gives the effect of like elastic, which is great for certain things, but probably not the look that you were going for. And that type of elasticity where you're turning left, it's still going right, it bounces back, but it puts a lot of stress on key areas like the straps and the waist. And again, those are going to relax out over the time that you're making the garment and through the evening while you're wearing it. So the waist is going to distort and the straps are going to distort over time just from the weight of the fabric on its own. And the more you wear it, the more that is going to happen. So when you think of someone like twirling in their dress and the fabric just floating around them, when the fabric is crochet, it is more going to bounce around them. It's going to be elastic. It's going to have momentum and a life of its own. And that might, number one, not be the look that you're going for, but also it is going to look heavy because it is heavy. The wedding dress that I bought was still like 8 pounds. Like, it was heavy in that bag. My arm was tired carrying that thing through the airport. And just imagine if it really was a full crochet dress. Oh my God. So again, crochet can't be altered like other fabrics can, where you can like do like an 1/8 adjustment and just bring it in a little bit here, loosen it up a little bit here. That can't happen. But even if it could, when I first took my wedding dress to the tailor, I was shocked when she told me that she couldn't take the waist in because my wedding dress had a mesh back and there was no way to like cinch it in or get it to fit better in that area. And I'm sitting there in this full length mirror wearing the most expensive dress I've ever bought that's fitting like a potato sack, Pikachu face. Like, what do you mean you can't alter that? I just didn't know this because I'm not a dressmaker, and fashion schools exist for a reason because there's architecture and engineering that goes into garment making. So you could design yourself into a corner where even if you could take it to a tailor and have them fix the fit, they might not be able to based on how you've designed your dress. So my tailor, she was a professional, and my like, oh shit moment only lasted for like 30 seconds. But when I have literally never told anyone how close I was to needing to buy another dress because this one was never going to fit. What she ended up doing was doing darts up the lower back so that that kind of cinched in everything together. But there, oh my God, I felt so stupid. And I cannot imagine having that moment just home alone, like trying on the wedding dress that you've been spending hours on and realizing like it's not going to fit and there's nothing that I can do. So I've never told anyone this because it ended up working out. Like, she was able to do the darts that cinched in everything so that it did fit at the waist because she was able to take it in there. And then, you know, the whole back was suddenly flush. But if I had like a different body type, that wouldn't have worked. If my seamstress wasn't as like good, or if I was the one who said it, I was like, can we take it in at the butt? And she was like, yeah, we can do that. That should work. imagine if we never figured that out. Like, and that's possible. So if it's just you at home making your own dress and you've never made a dress before, you don't know all of the things that go into making a garment fit well, okay? Because it is never just as simple as, oh, I'll just pin it tighter and sew over that line and now the dress fits. It is not that simple. These people are professionals with decades of experience because that's what it takes in order to do this. So all of this to say, it is not as simple to make your own wedding dress as just, I'll crochet something in the shape of a gown. It's not that simple. You need to think about the closure, how you get in and out of the dress, the shape of the dress, the weight of the dress, where your eye travels. And most of the time, if you do crochet a dress, you need an underdress because the fabric is just wholly, you're going to be able to see through it. And unless you're already pretty talented at sewing, you'll have to buy a dress that will just happen to line up with the same silhouette. And there's just so much to stress about for a wedding. Imagine having to stress that your dress isn't going to fit. And that is like the only thing it needs to do. Any style dress, any color, any shape, as long as it fits, it's going to look beautiful. But if it doesn't fit, what are you going to do? So I say this as crochet's biggest fan and as a pretty prolific clothing maker for myself. I have a ton of stuff that I have made for myself. And I, at this point, know enough to know what I don't know, But there's a lot of people out there who think that, yeah, it is just as simple as I'll just crochet a bodice and crochet a skirt onto that and that will be my wedding dress. And it's not that simple. And I know that you have seen the same Instagram sagas that I have of people making their own wedding dress. And of all of those, I would say there's been 2 that I thought looked good. And the rest compromised. And I just hope that it's what they wanted because I didn't like it. So I would love to sit here and go through the wedding dresses that I have seen crocheted or knitted on Instagram. Honestly, it's mostly crochet, and nitpick where they went wrong, why you shouldn't do this, what we can learn from their mistakes. But those are inside thoughts, okay? And that is mean, and I cannot do that. But just know that when I see pretty much anything wedding related, but especially those DIY wedding dresses, that I am that Ryan Gosling gif. I just am judgmental, okay? I accept this about myself. It's a character flaw, but it actually really helped me with planning my own wedding because I knew what I didn't want. And so I went to my florist and I was like, I hate this. She was like, we can work with that. And everybody could actually. So I got what I wanted by eliminating and letting them know what I really would not be happy with. And it worked out. But just know, you've seen them. I've seen them. And we can learn from those mistakes just through telepathy. Don't make your own wedding dress. Don't make your own wedding dress. You can do what I did instead and make your rehearsal dinner dress, okay? Because you can have your hand crocheted floor length gown, but it doesn't have to be your wedding dress. You don't need the pressure. Instead, you can make your rehearsal dress, and that can be literally whatever you want. And I am so glad that I made my rehearsal dress because I love having it in my house. I love looking at it. I love re-wearing it, even though, it's white, so I don't re-wear it basically ever. But I could, because this is not like too much to just show up to a dinner in, And this is also a pattern from the same designer as the other patterns that I have linked. But it turned out so pretty, and it fits kind of like a wetsuit. If you have a hourglass figure, how do I put this? If you have an hourglass figure, the patterns of this designer may not fit you very easily, and you can make it work because at the end of the day, crochet is stretchy and you can make it work. But just keep in mind that if you have some junk in the trunk and some noise uptown, it's going to be a struggle. This fits like a wetsuit, but it does fit. But imagine that on my wedding day, like trying to get in with my hair and makeup. Ooh, that would have been a nightmare. The other fatal flaw of this is that the V is too deep. The V of this is too deep, and unless I'm keeping perfect posture, I am a nip slip. I'm an inch away from a nip slip. It's close because it also has this lace going on that will sometimes roll the fabrics. If you turn too much, it will roll the fabric down a little bit farther. And if that was my wedding dress, what would I even do? I would have just stapled it. I would have got a needle and thread and just sewn it straight to my skin, because the risk is too high. So I made a perfect rehearsal dress with like 2 fatal flaws, you know, and I still love it and I still wear it. But for my wedding, when I don't want to be thinking of anything besides how in love I am with my husband, I learned a lot from this. And I also learned why you should not make the most important dress of your life if you don't feel that way. Like I said, if I go through all of these things and you still want to make your own wedding dress, then you are one of the people who should. But I have an artist heart, you have an artist heart, and it can be so hard to look through that and look at the logic. And that is my attempt for dissuading you from making your own wedding dress, because it's not the logical choice for most of us. And even though we have a creative soul, we want to use this opportunity to show our skills, it is your day. You can do what you want. But just know, I warned ya. So anyways, these are things that we learned. But if you want to crochet your own wedding dress, and I just convinced you not to, crochet your rehearsal dress. Is that my Bobby coming in?
No.
Ah, you scared me.
It's your husband here.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. But I also made my after party. So I didn't wear this to the reception. We went to a bar after my wedding. And so if you're into that kind of thing, I feel really, really cute in my matching set. I added a little bit of green. And this is the skirt that I made, which is my first video on Instagram that got 1 million views. And I still don't really know why. No one has ever asked for a pattern on this. This was also using some stitches that I learned, I guess, from the Crochet Every Way Stitch Dictionary. I modified them to work in the round. And then I added on these little flower details, which I just felt like the prettiest little princess. And the last thing I made for my wedding was the very first prototype for the Not So Basic tank, which I wore to the brunch the next day with our out-of-town guests, which everyone was out of town. So everyone was there. That covers everything that I made for my wedding, but I still have some more recommendations, but I can't really call them recommendations because I didn't actually do these myself, so I can't speak directly to their practicality for your wedding. But what I will say is that I think that these are good ideas and someone should do them. So I think depending on the dress that you choose and your personal style, I think that crocheting your own wedding veil would be so cool and so pretty. And what I'm imagining is like an elbow length, off-white heavy crochet veil for someone. The look that I'm really thinking of is Anya Taylor-Joy's wedding look, except I did not like the bright white tulle veil that she wore with her dress, and I think it would have looked so much better. She wore like a cathedral length veil, which is all the way down. I think an elbow length, fun little off-white hand crocheted moment. Maybe it has like a little blusher, maybe it doesn't, maybe it has multiple layers. You can get really creative here because this is something where you would take it off after your ceremony, most likely. And for a lot of people, if you didn't wear a veil down the aisle, no one would notice. So if you make this and then it doesn't work out, or you hate it and you can't buy a replacement or don't have time, no one would even notice. So I think that this is a great place to experiment and have a little bit of fun. And I'm thinking of the boho Western look. I think that this would be really cute for, and then especially a more classic Gothic look, especially more classic Gothic look. This would look very, very pretty. And I think that pretty much any doily pattern could be pinned at the right spot, give that beautiful circle veil. So I would love to see someone do this. I assume that somebody has, but I just haven't seen it. And this is something that I think about and dream about and would love someone to do. It's just a good idea. It's cool. So then next, for a cold weather or a winter wedding, how chic would it look to have crocheted a little shawl to wear on the day? And I think that this would be a great opportunity for one of those classic filet crochet laces where you have your initials and the date and maybe like a bouquet and like a bridal portrait or the silhouettes in it. I think that that would look so pretty and be a great piece of memorabilia. But even like a very, very simple, just like heavy wool granny stitch type of shawl, I think would look so pretty, add a little bit of texture, a little bit of warmth. And I think that winter brides can get away with like more out there type of looks because, like, you know, you got to stay warm. So like long sleeves, big coats, capes, all of those things are really, really cool. I got married in June, so I didn't get to do any of these things. But if I was a winter bride, I so would have crocheted a cape or a shawl or something that was just really pretty, really dramatic, classic looking. But again, I think this goes great into like a boho or more Western vibe, something more natural, kind of hippie that would look great. Again, like a traditional gothic or just a straight up flat romantic look. You could do so much with this, and I just think that it's a really cute idea and something that you could just keep. Like, I have a shawl hung up on my wall here. They look so nice. They just add that little touch to a room. So if you spend all that time to crochet a shawl for your wedding day and then just like hang it up over your bed as the big portrait or something for your headboard, that would look awesome. Somebody should do that. So similar but slightly less practical, I think, would be a crocheted parasol. I thought long and hard about crocheting a parasol for my wedding, but the like look that I was going for and just the amount of things that I wanted to deal with, a parasol would have been a little too much. And I didn't know how to do it, but there's a bunch of good patterns. So I have some patterns linked as well. But the reason I think a parasol would be so cute is because I just think of how like dramatic and beautiful that would look, the silhouette, and then the sun coming through and leaving those shadows across the bride, I think would look so pretty for photos. Again, it would be like the perfect prop. The one thing here is I don't see how this could be stored or displayed inside the home afterwards. I feel like it would be one of those things that ends up in a box and like you'd have to like get it out for special occasions, but it might be worth it depending on, you know, what your personal style is. Again, the like traditional gothic look, this is it. The boho look, this is it. Traditional romantic, this is it. I think that this would look cute for so many reasons. And if it's sunny and you just need a break and then you have your parasol and it's just as like a prop for photos, I think that those are the best places to experiment. I also think that crocheting the flowers for your bouquet is a great idea as well, because again, your bouquet is traditional, but it really is just a prop and you can get way out there. You could carry a stuffed animal of your dog. You could carry a portrait of your grandma. You could do pretty much whatever you want in place of a bouquet, but some like crochet flowers are dead on to the real thing. So people might not even know that you have made your own bouquet. And then this is the perfect lifelong display piece to have like in a vase next to your bedside or on the coffee table or something. People can look at it and enjoy it. And the time that you put in, you'll be able to enjoy for the rest of your lives and just have this perfectly preserved flower bouquet. I think that this is a great idea. I know for a fact that people have done this before, and I thought long and hard about doing this for myself, but I really wanted my flowers to have a scent to them. And that was basically the only thing when I was picking out flowers with my florist was, yeah, that's good. That's how I decided what flowers I wanted. And they did end up smelling wonderful, and I smelled wonderful. But if you don't have that complex about smelling nice, then I think that having your own crocheted flowers is a great idea. And then the other thing is those little, what are those called? Boutonnieres that you could wear for your husband or your spouse or whoever needs a boutonniere on their suit. I think that that would look very pretty to have that be crocheted as well. And then that can be stored and that would look very nice. And you know what? That's all my recommendations for things to make for your wedding. Because again, I think that the perfect things to hand make for your wedding are things that you want to be handmade, that you want to cherish for the rest of your lives, that you just cannot wait to put on a shelf as a display piece or have at your bedside or to have professional photos of from your photographer, those are the right things to crochet and knit and spend the time on and hand make. And those other areas that you could spend time on, but you have better things to do, I really, really, really encourage you to think about what you care about and what you really could live without. So we are not spending time hand making things just because of pressure or stress, or this is how it should be. The table should have a centerpiece. The arch should have flowers on it. I should have an arch. All of those things are out the window, and you only need to spend time on things that you really, really want and dream about. When you close your eyes and think of your wedding and think of the things that you are going to tell your photographer, I need a picture of this, I need a picture of this, I need a picture of this. All of those things that you really, really want, those are the things that you need to spend time on, and everything else, just forget about it. Because the bridal industry is going to tell you, you need this, you need this, you need this. You don't. The only thing that you really, really need that day, and in fact, the whole point of the wedding in general, is to vow to spend the rest of your life with your spouse. The only thing that is really going to matter and impact the rest of your life at your wedding is what you promise to each other. It doesn't matter who's there. It doesn't matter who's not there, as long as you're both there and making genuine promises to each other to have and to hold in sickness and in health. Those are the things that matter. And you don't need anything for those. You could get married butt naked, and people do. Okay? So allow me to empower you to just elope and then have a party if you're into that. You know what I mean? You don't need a wedding. I had a wedding. I wanted a wedding. But you don't have to want that. You can do whatever you want. And all of these things that I recommended, you can make and then not have a wedding and just do it for fun because you want to. Just give your best friends gifts, even though you're not having bridesmaids. Just make your own rehearsal dress, even though you're not having a rehearsal dinner. You're gonna eat dinner the day before your wedding anyways. You can do whatever you want. You know what I just thought of? I'm making this skinny scarf. And it would be cute to have a little garland like this, maybe somewhere, maybe even as your own skinny scarf. This obviously isn't done. I gotta weave in all the ends, but how cute is that? So yeah, maybe a garland of flowers somewhere. If you just crochet flowers, you'll find a place for them somewhere in your wedding. If you have any recommendations for things to make for your wedding, things that you want to make, things that you have made, and more importantly for my wedding planning, things that you know you do not want, please share them. I am curious. I love wedding stuff. I always stop and watch and put on my little Ryan Gosling look. But I'm there. I'm watching. I'm clicking. And just know deep down, even after all of this, I do want to crochet a wedding dress because I think I'm ready for the challenge, but without the pressure of having my own wedding. So I would just have this cream. It's cream, it's off-white, it's lacy, there's flowers on it. There's just a little bit of a train, that like a 1-inch heel and then a little bit of a train. It's spaghetti strap, it's sweetheart neckline. That's my vision. I don't know when I'll get to it, if ever, but it will definitely be a video when I do. Because I think a lot of people who want to make their own wedding dresses need to see me try to make a wedding dress, and then I can pick apart where I went wrong. I can be mean to myself. I cannot be mean to these women who did make their own wedding dress that I don't like. But I think if I sat down and I was the example trying to make a wedding dress, going through all of the reasons why you shouldn't do this, it would hit home a little bit harder, and it would really, really help some people out. Okay? Because I wouldn't say any of this stuff if I didn't think someone needs to hear this. This could help someone. This is good information to get out there. Okay? So at the end of the day, none of it's really that serious. Okay? Do whatever you want. But yeah, if you would like to see me attempt to crochet a wedding dress in the future, feel free to subscribe. I've got a lot of yarn and a lot of plans. Bye.